Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're gonna be a slightly spicier person after watching this video. Family could not handle their demon spawn in a store. So this was a couple years back and I was 13 at the time, I'm 19 now, and I live in Sweden. A store had just opened in the town I live in and my mum and I thought we should go there and have a look. There was so many people, so we decided to go another day at 11 AM so there ain't that many people. The store is like a big dollar store, but way better. So, about a week later, we went and there was still a lot of people, but we went in anyways because my mum hates to wait. So we did our thing until my mum got punched from behind by this little demon, about 8 or 9 years old, and he ran away as my mum screamed at him. So I saw him run to his family. They had about 5 kids running around and 1 in a stroller. The parents couldn't care less, even though the demon spawn was running around hitting people and laughing. To be clear, Swedish people are really afraid to confront and just want to stay in their own bubble. I have a couple of Swedish friends, I can confirm that's true. So here comes the revenge. Closer to the exit, we come across Demon Spawn again, but this time he's nagging on his parents to buy this huge Sally from Monsters Inc. plush, and it was the only one left, and he's just getting ignored, so he starts screaming and crying, and people are just looking and judging them. Cut to his dad screaming to leave the plush where it was. At this time we were kind of walking by the kid, and he leaves it, and I swoop in and take it, and ask my mum if I could have it, and she says yes, and I put it in the basket. He was still nagging about it while I had it in my basket, and I think his parents budged because he was about to go and get it, and then he saw me with it. I could hear his jaw drop, and the tears. Oh, the tears. It was flooding and clean up at aisle 7. I just stuck my tongue out at him, and saw the parents just lose it because they were so sick of him. So now my little sister, she is now 8, and at the time when it happened she was only 1. She has this big Sally plush and she adores it, and I usually tell the story about the kid to her just to scare her so she doesn't do stuff like that. I have a bunch of PettyRevenge I've done, but this one is the funniest. Sounds like a pretty good big brother to me. The school janitor wouldn't let me throw up in the bathroom, so I threw up on the floor and watched him clean it up. Back in high school, it was the final exam week. I was very ill, but I had to pull through the day. I threw up every hour on the hour. There was only 1 bathroom on each floor for students. It sucked major ass because you usually had to walk far to go. I felt okay after puking for the millionth time, but that soon faded after 20 minutes, so I go sprinting for the bathroom. Everyone is in class or taking exams, so the hall is free and clear. Well, the janitor decided this was the time to clean the bathrooms. While he's cleaning one bathroom, he locks the other bathroom for some reason. I tried to use the girls' bathroom and he stood in the way. I told him I had to throw up and he said, "Do it somewhere else," and blocked the door. The boys' restroom was locked, so I leaned over the trash can attached to his cleaning cart. He yelled at me and shooed me away. I was pissed and I couldn't hold it anymore, so I threw up on the floor 15 feet down the hallway. I probably dragged a good splash of vomit 10 feet down the hall. The vice principal came out of the office as this was happening. She was actually my English teacher for years before she became vice principal, so we were close. She took me to her office and cleaned me up. I told her what happened. She made him clean up my puke. I watched from the office and then she fired him on the spot. He had been an a-hole to multiple students. My experience was the last straw apparently. Oh my god, this just reminded me of when I was doing my GCSEs. I was 15 and in school, and like OP, it was exam week, and that day I was doing my math exam. And I'm terrible at math, so I was super nervous. We were all in the study room and just going over stuff, and I was taking antibiotics for some reason, I don't remember. Well, with these antibiotics you were supposed to take them with food, but I just thought that was something the doctors put on the packaging or something. I don't know, don't judge me. So I took my antibiotics and I was looking over my notes, and about 20 minutes later I start feeling really sick. I've got about 30 minutes to go before I have to start my exam, and all I can think is, I'm gonna be sick, I'm gonna be sick, I'm gonna be sick. I get up from the desk and I start walking towards the bathrooms. I get about halfway there and I throw up. Into my cheeks. So I start half jogging with my cheeks full. Thankfully the halls were completely empty. No one saw me, and after I threw up I felt way better. Although I thought I did so horribly on the exam that I wrote some jokes on the back of the paper, and I still got a C though, so it ended well I guess. So, you hate the word moist? This happened like 5 years ago and was told recently to post it here, so here it goes. There was a girl in my Spanish 1 class in high school, Lauren. Lauren and I really didn't ever get along, and we had to sit by each other and work together in group projects from time to time. Lauren was a lot better than me at Spanish. I never learned Spanish before the class. Meanwhile, she was taught a bunch of it at a young age. Now, since Lauren didn't like me much, she would constantly harass me about asking questions because I didn't understand the material as much as the other people. One day, she called me an idiot in front of the entire class and they all laughed, which hurt my self-esteem tremendously. I didn't ask any other questions, and to this day, I still don't fully understand Spanish. A couple months after this, I found out in class she hates the words moist and wiggle. My first thought was revenge. I kept repeating moist and wiggle quite frequently in class, and every time she would freak out. After class was over, I felt accomplished, but not fully. Cue PettyRevenge time. I knew Lauren had biology in the same room I had my study hall in. She actually had her class right after mine, so right as the bells were ringing, I wrote moist and wiggle in big bold letters for everyone to see. The entire class kept asking, why are the words moist and wiggle on the board? Evidently, they kept talking about it all class period long, and she hated every second of it. She cringed and was uncomfortable the entire 2-hour long class. She immediately knew it was me and bitched me out for a while, but I didn't care. I got my revenge. I think moist is a word that's kind of overrated now. Like, everyone seems to have had a problem with it for a while, so I don't think it packs as much of a punch anymore. And wiggle is just plain fun to say. I have a word that I absolutely can't stand, and thankfully it isn't something that I've heard often. I'll tell you what it is, as long as you promise not to use it against me. You promise? Okay. It's Moorish. I absolutely hate it. It shouldn't be a word, and it makes me feel gross when people say it. Do you have a word that makes you cringe? Possession is 9/10 of the law. Apologies if this belongs elsewhere. This was a long time ago, in a state far, far away. My stepmother at the time was a woman who was part of a large church that is headquartered in Utah. Suffice it to say, this woman was interesting. She forbade anyone from drinking caffeinated beverages and would throw away any sodas she found, even Sprite, despite the fact that it has 0 caffeine. She refused to buy anything that could be considered a treat, such as cookies, except for herself. She continually had missionaries come to the house to try and get me to convert to her belief system. I was pretty firm in my beliefs at the time, so I enjoyed the debates I had with the missionaries. She, of course, thought I was being blasphemous and said she would pray for my soul and would have my father baptized into her church after he died. Who knew you could anoint cadavers? We had many disagreements over things, and I enlisted to the army to get out of that situation as soon as I graduated high school. While I was at basic training, Fort Lost in the Woods state of misery, my father had apparently realised he was married to an interesting woman and told her it was best if they went their separate ways. He thought it would be amicable. Boy, was he wrong. He came home the next week to find she had taken almost everything out of the house, the brand new car my father had bought with his bonus, and moved into an apartment, spending all the money in their account. My father was left with a 15-year-old station wagon they had bought to move. When I finished training, I came home on leave before reporting to my first duty station, and my father picked me up at the airport in the beater station wagon. I asked why he was driving this car, and he told me that apparently possession was 9/10 of the law at that time, so it looked like it would stay that way. He was rather bitter about it, of course, and decided to show me the luxury apartment she was living in at the time. We drove by the place. Very nice. 3 pools, sauna, tennis courts, all the bells and whistles. All of a sudden my father slammed on the brakes. There was his brand new Chrysler Lebaron convertible. I told you this was a long time ago. He said, "I still have a key to that on my keyring." You can see where this is going. He parked the station wagon next to the Lebaron and checked. The key still worked. So he quickly transferred everything out of the station wagon into the Lebaron, transferred everything from the Lebaron into the station wagon, and drove away. When the divorce was finalized a few months later, my father kept the Lebaron. I have no idea if I've pronounced that correctly. I'm not a car person. But thank goodness the dad remembered he had a key, and I would have loved to have seen the ex-wife's face when she realised. Want candy? Have some candy. This story doesn't involve me. It happened before I was born, but it's famous in the town my parents grew up. My father was friends with the grocer's son. Let's call him Jim. His parents had an old-fashioned grocery store, mostly vegetables, meats and dairy products, as well as everyday household items like flour and sugar. Around that time, however, candy became a bigger thing, so it was decided they would include it in the stock at their store. Jim and his little sister Helga wanted to eat it all day because it was so nice and sweet. They of course weren't allowed much because it was bad for them. The kids then started stealing from their parents' grocery store. Their mother caught them and punished them to only eating candy from then on. Jim and Helga were thrilled and ate candy to their heart's content. Of course, they got sick of it really soon. After a week they were feeling sick, constipated and overall horrible. It wasn't until after the second week that the parents relented. They were sick of candy ever since. My father remembers Jim begging my grandmother to join them for supper so he could have regular food, but as this was a small town, all the parents were in on it and didn't allow them to get healthier food elsewhere. My father and I saw Jim when we went back to visit. The grocery store turned into a chain supermarket, which he now manages, and he still doesn't eat candy, which my father loves to make fun of. My parents always use this as a cautionary tale. My parents did something kinda similar, but it was only a threat. My brother and I were told that if we were ever caught smoking, then we would be forced to smoke all the cigarettes in the packet one after the other. It never happened though. We never got caught. Okay, so that's all for r/PettyRevenge. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. My Twitter, Discord, and Patreon links are in the description, and any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.